Welcome back, fellow internet adventurers. Get ready for another wild ride through Reddit's strangest stories. We're diving deep into the internet's quirkiest corners. Grab your popcorn and join us on this adventure. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like. Let's get started. After my wife cheated on me with a colleague, she begged for forgiveness, but I served her divorce papers. My wife, Andrea, 34, and I met at a management school 8 years ago. When we first started talking, she already had a long-term boyfriend of 2 years. I was single then. She was one of the most intelligent women in the class. Not only was she smart, but she also had a great sense of humor, which set her apart from the other girls, who were either too bookish or bimbos. Not to mention the skewed gender ratio of the management school. I was naturally drawn to her and instantly fell for her charm, but she said she had a boyfriend, so I backed off. A few months later, I started dating an Indian girl. It was just a casual fling where we both knew it was temporary fun, but I continued to have a friendship with Andrea. She used to help me with my projects and assignments. Although I had a girlfriend, I ended up spending most of my time with Andrea. My relationship was merely casual, but my girlfriend would get jealous of my closeness with Andrea. In our final year of college, Andrea found out that her boyfriend had cheated on her. Just a one-time thing, but she gave him a chance. I was her closest friend, and she confided in me about her heartbreak. Although she gave him a chance and continued dating him, she wasn't happy about it. She was also skeptical about her future with him. He was a conservative man with no proper job, just an accountant at a supermarket, while Andrea was a free spirit and a management student. She had secured a paid internship with Morgan Stanley, and her boyfriend was no match for her. Honestly, I was still eyeing her, because she was one of those keeper girls who are not just a girlfriend, but also your closest ally. One time, her boyfriend visited our college, and I envied him so much, seeing how good she was to him and how arrogant he was. He had nothing to be arrogant about. While she had everything, yet she was so sweet. I've never admitted this to anyone, but the truth is I manipulated Andrea against her boyfriend. I told her how she deserved someone so much better than him in terms of class and status. Also, he had cheated on her once, so she was already half convinced to break up with him. With all this going on, I barely gave time to my girlfriend. I was always seen with Andrea. When things got complicated, I broke up with my girlfriend so that I could spend more time freely with Andrea. I had already fallen in love with her. I felt she liked me too, but was just not able to break up with her boyfriend. On my birthday, she came to my college dorm to surprise me. I seized that opportunity and made my move. That was the first time we had sex. I had been with many women before, but this was special to me. This continued for some time until she finally mustered the courage to break up with her boyfriend before she got exposed for cheating. That very year, I invited her home for Christmas to meet my parents. I was dead serious about her right from day one, but she didn't want to hop into another relationship immediately. She took her time before committing to me. For years after college, I proposed to her, and we got married. That was the most beautiful day of my life. Fast forward to a month ago when I found some disturbing text messages on Andrea's phone. They were from her colleague, who was telling her how ravishing her body was and that whenever he saw her, he wanted to grab her. That was the only message in the chat, which meant she had deleted the previous messages. I didn't beat around the bush and confronted her head-on. She didn't act defensively and told the truth. One of her colleagues was flirting with her, and she got distracted. She said she felt desirable after a very long time. After all these years with me, she felt she was no longer attractive, but suddenly that colleague flirted with her, and she realized she could still attract someone. I asked if she slept with him. She said yes, but it was just to feel good and that it meant nothing. I think I didn't mention that we have a 2-year-old son. I asked her if she thought about our son and her future before slipping into his pants. She said the pregnancy had left her with postpartum depression for so long, and she hooked up with that man to relax and feel good. I told her that I would be separating from her. She acted shocked because she wasn't taking it seriously. I informed her that it didn't matter how she had been doing it. The moment she opened herself up to another man, it was over for me. I know I loved and adored that woman for so many years. I never loved anyone the way I loved her, but I cannot let her walk all over me. She held my hand and pleaded for one last chance. Moments ago, she wasn't even guilty, and now she was in tears and remorseful. I know pregnancy is tough, and so is the postpartum stage, but it doesn't give you a license to cheat, right? I don't want to go through the divorce process with a 2-year-old toddler between us. I don't want him to suffer. He loves us both equally, and that poor soul will be devastated to be separated from either one of us. I'm currently laying out the separation plan. I told her that our relationship would be just as parents to our child, and our conversations would be limited to discussions about him and nothing else. I have moved my stuff to the guest bedroom upstairs. We have virtually divided the house. She gets to take the front porch living area and our master bedroom, while I take the backyard, lawn, guest bedroom, and study room upstairs. I'll access them through the back door, while she uses the front door. We both will have access to our child's room and the kitchen space. I'm planning on separating the place with false walls and cardboard so that we don't interfere in each other's lives. She has been crying and wailing all day, asking me to forgive her. She's saying that she didn't consider it cheating because she was not emotionally attached to the affair partner. She did it once just to feel desired. I made it clear that we cannot be together. I'm in talks with my lawyer to make the separation formal so that it doesn't create problems later. I'll provide an update as the situation progresses. Cardboard walls really just pull the plug. Why would you want to do that to yourself? Get into your own space. It would be far worse for your son to navigate around a maze of false walls. Both of you have cheated in the past, so you both knew how this ends. You knew the kind of person she was before you married her. Update 1. Thanks for engaging with my post. I'm overwhelmed by the support and advice I receive from this group. Some of you commented that my post sounded as if I still loved Andrea. The thing is, how can you unlove a person in a moment whom you've loved so deeply for so many years? Of course, it is heartbreaking to know what she did to me, and probably I'll stop loving her in a while, but unloving someone doesn't happen in the blink of an eye. There's no switch for it, right? Anyway, the last few weeks have been stressful. After the confrontation, the first week I saw Andrea mostly in bed, crying and moaning. On some days, her crying became so severe that my son got worried about it, and I had to calm him down. I discussed the separation clause with my lawyer. He made a few changes, such as sorting out the finances, closing the joint account, and splitting the common household bills, electricity, water, gas, etc. Since both of us were working, we divided the expenses in half. My attorney also advised me to add one more clause regarding dating and divorce. In any case, if one of us wants a divorce, we should outline how to proceed, and if either of us dates other people, we should establish the terms around it. For both these points, I added that we could get a divorce whenever either of us wanted, and that we were free to date anyone during this period. My lawyer ran this by Andrea, and she agreed to all of it. She was still saying that all of these measures were unnecessary and that we could get back together. At my insistence, she signed the separation papers as I planned. I wanted to split the house so that we wouldn't bump into each other that frequently. The day the workmen arrived, she again started pleading with me not to go this far. When she cries and pleads with me so hard, it becomes difficult not to get carried away. It was equally challenging for me to move on, and she was making it harder for me. Divorce would have been much easier than separation while living in the same house. My son is too small, and I don't want to ruin his childhood. I also cannot forgive Andrea and go back to a normal life with her. I cannot see her in the same way ever again. She will always be a cheater to me. Once the house was ready, I went on a solo trip. I offered to babysit our son in case Andrea wanted to take a vacation, because I understand that she too needs to get over this. Her condition has become miserable, and her face has turned pale. She barely smiles or goes out. She has been working from home, mostly from bed. I pity her, but she brought this on herself. The solo trip was refreshing and helped clear my head regarding the ongoing separation. I gained a new perspective on many things, and my mind became calmer and more forgiving. No, I don't think of reconciliation after the trip. I sometimes have dinner with Andrea and my son because, after all, we share a roof for his well-being. We talk about his daycare, his future school, and so on. Sometimes it does become difficult to have just a transactional conversation with her because she often breaks down in tears. She still hopes that one day we will be back together as husband and wife. I told her this was never going to happen because I am looking forward to downloading some dating apps. It is difficult, and some would say it is not practical, but we are trying this out for our son. I'm insisting that Andrea take some time off and travel because she really needs a break. Her health is deteriorating, and I'm sure her mental health is not great either. I'll make an update if something happens. Thanks for putting up with me. If you have any advice to make my life better, please share it. I'll connect with you all in the comments as usual. Update 2. Andrea's mental and physical health keeps deteriorating over time. Her physician recommended therapy for her, and she started attending sessions. Until I involved her parents, she had not told anyone about the separation. She needed a support system, and I could not be that for her at this time. Her family was the only one who could stand behind her. She feared embarrassment. I told her she could explain to them that we had grown out of love instead of revealing the exact reason. I didn't intend to humiliate her. I know I'll be criticized for protecting her, but the thing is, not everyone wants to take revenge by humiliating their partners. I have read at least hundreds of stories on Reddit, and every other post talks about revenge and humiliation. That might be worth it for some, but it doesn't work for me. She cheated on me, and I separated from her. That's my way of protecting my self-respect. Some people bet on my last post that I would take her back. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I'm not someone who puts my foot in my mouth. I know what I want and what I'm doing. Anyway, after a lot of contemplation, she finally told her parents about the separation, and they convinced her to go for therapy. She attended a few sessions, and then the therapist recommended couples therapy because her individual therapy wasn't helping. I agreed to joint therapy because I, too, needed to vent. Although I had been calmly handling the situation for a while, I realized that curbing my emotions was not healthy for me in the long term. We've only been to 2 sessions, and I can already see the difference in her. She started going to the office regularly. In the second session, she confessed how she got involved with her colleague. She cried and kept saying sorry to me. However, she was still asking for reconciliation. I also expressed my grief and sadness about her cheating for the first time. We hugged and cried, but I told her that we could never be a couple again. She has yet to accept the truth, but eventually she will. Currently, she has gone on a trip with her mom and sister, and I hope she comes back stronger. Meanwhile, I'm taking care of our son. By the way, I've also started chatting with a few women on a dating site. Nothing has come of my conversations yet, and I'm still waiting to meet anyone in person. Most of the female accounts on these dating apps are fake and run by scammers, so I'm being careful about it. If anyone has suggestions for a better app, please comment that I don't know what the future holds for me, whether we will be divorced or continue to live like housemates. I'm not rushing into things, and I'm not even sure if I'm ready to date again. I need to get over Andrea first before dating other women. I'll make an update if anything develops. Thanks for your support. We'll engage in the comments as usual. Update 3. Hi there. I know this time I took a long time to make an update. I guess a year has passed, and a lot has changed over this year. We've admitted our son to a play school, and he is doing quite well there. We are super proud of him. Andrea and I are still separated, but we live in the same house and don't see each other often. The house was divided long ago, but we used to bump into each other in the kitchen or our son's room. So, we divided the days on which we would use the kitchen and also split the days on which we would put our son to sleep to avoid seeing each other as much as possible. Sometimes, we do end up having breakfast or dinner together with our son, especially on weekends. It was important for us to draw this boundary. It helped us move on. The couples therapy we attended also helped us accept the reality of our relationship. Andrea came back refreshed and strong after her trekking break. She didn't plead with me for reconciliation after that. I don't know if she had accepted the situation or if she still hoped to get back together, but she never pleaded with me again. Eventually, I got better at my shortlisting game on the dating site, thanks to those who suggested some really effective apps and helped me with the trick of finding genuine profiles. Through one of these sites, I met a woman I'll call Cairo. She's also a single mother of a 4-year-old son. Her husband divorced her to marry his secretary, and she had to battle a long court trial to get child support because her husband fled to another city. We started off more as friends and connected over our common past. At first, she was reluctant to meet because she didn't have a good experience with other men who just wanted to have sex. I also never forced her to meet because I wasn't desperate either. But after talking for a while, she agreed to meet for coffee. We like spending time with each other, It was a good change for me after so many years. We mostly met at public places for lunch and dinner. A month ago, she invited me to her house to meet her son, and we got a little intimate for the first time. She also wanted to see my son, so I invited her to my house last week. She came with her son, and I had told her everything about Andrea and my house setup. Her son and my son played together for a while, but then Andrea came and took our son away. Although Andrea wasn't rude, it was evident that she didn't like having another woman in the house. Cairo also noticed Andrea's displeasure and said that Andrea still loved me and had not moved on. The next day, I was having breakfast alone when Andrea dropped in and said she doesn't like her son mingling with some random woman's child. I told her I was seeing Cairo, and tears welled up in her eyes. She asked how I could move on so fast and start dating other women. I reminded her of the separation clause that allows us to date others without any guilt tripping. Cairo coming to our house or me dating other women hasn't gone well with Andrea. I met with my lawyer yesterday, and he suggested that if I want to live freely, mostly dating, I should move out. It is better to get a divorce and joint custody of our son rather than living in the same house and lingering in the past. He made a good point that in the last year, our son has gotten used to seeing us on different days, so we would not face that big of a change with the divorce. Of course, it would take time for him to adjust to the fact that we don't live in the same house, but he is already used to seeing us separate. I told Andrea that I wanted to get a divorce, and she became miserable. She pleaded with me to stay in the house and not get a divorce. She also promised that she would not mind if I brought anyone to the house. She even apologized for her behavior with Cairo. I told her it was not about that incident and that divorce is necessary for our future so that we are not stuck in our past. She promised all sorts of things and just wanted me to stay in the house. I'm planning to move out without informing her, as it will be easier for both of us. The only thing making this difficult is my son. I'm going to miss him, but once the divorce is settled and we get joint custody, I'm sure it will be fine, and I'll be able to make up for this absence. I've also written an elaborate letter to Andrea about my decision to move out and file for divorce. I'm going to do that right after posting this. I'll provide the details of the divorce in my next update. I'm running short on time now. Do you think it was harder for you and your ex to move on because you were in the same house? It seems like it was giving false hope to something you had apparently made your mind up about. Your lawyer is right. You both need to physically separate. All you did by building the walls in the house was manifest the emotional walls you had up after finding out your partner cheated. Update 4. Sorry, I ran out of time last day. I had to move out before Andrea got home. I left the letter for her on the front porch and mentioned that I would be sending the divorce papers to her soon. I'm guessing she called me a few times after getting the letter, but I had set an automated reply for her calls, stating that I would not be able to talk to her. I went into a no-network zone after that. I went to Alaska for a month so that she could not find me at my workplace or anywhere. Meanwhile, my lawyer sent the divorce papers to her after a few days, and she even signed them, so our divorce was finalized uncontested. She agreed to the joint custody of our son. I gave her the house we lived in because I didn't want a lot of change for my son. I also agreed to provide my share of child support, so that was it. After I was back from Alaska, I got a condo for myself and settled down. It took a while to set up the place, but now I think it looks much better. I'm going to meet my son next week after 3 months. I hope he's not too mad at me. I think Andrea has finally understood my perspective, which is why she signed the divorce papers without any hassle. While I continue to be in touch with Cairo all this time, we're still not very sure of our future together. Actually, we're not rushing into things and are taking baby steps. If we are destined to be together, we might end up living together, but I don't think I'm up for marriage again. I also hope Andrea moves on in life and finds someone to share her sorrows with. Anyways, goodbye for now. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell.